Ascension is one of the most discussed topics these days, mainly due to the large frequency bandwidth that we have been experiencing lately. And as our awareness deepens or expands, depending how we look at it, but it's the same thing, we begin to understand or understand and perceive different levels of reality, which means different levels of truth. So we look at those more enlightened than us with the intellectual thirst of a seeker, only to find either too much information or none which is relevant at all. And that depends not only on the algorithm's mood, but also on our own level of understanding. So today I will talk about what ascension means, especially in the context of the first wave of ascension, or the second, and even the third. And I will share a few helpful ways in which I navigated this period a little bit easier. Some of them, or one of them, was life changing. On a mental level, we have had numerous spiritual breakthroughs, many aha moments, but on a massive scale, where the illusion of separation completely shatters. And I believe that is when we intellectually and intuitively comprehend oneness or Christ consciousness. But the realization, the finding out, is actually the easier part. While the gnosis, or the knowledge of our true nature and the true nature of our reality, is a structural shift. It definitely changes somebody's life, just knowing. The embodiment is equally important, because the embodiment is anchoring in this physical reality of this higher knowledge. So Ascension technically is the embodiment of our higher self. And this might sound like psycho-schizobabble to somebody who has not experienced it yet, because it is very difficult to articulate something which hasn't been articulated yet. It is very difficult to describe something which is undescribable, something which can only be lived. From an energetic standpoint, embodiment is a literal recalibration, and in a way it happens twofold. One is a rewiring and the healing of our nervous system, so that our body can hold a higher energetic and electrical charge without burning out and without slipping back into survival mode loops. And the second is clearing of our cellular memory. And this might feel like purging the physical density. And I'm referring to ancestral trauma, personal trauma, ancestral programming, bad habits. All these things are stored within our memory, our cellular tissue. And to borrow a tech analogy, the realization is downloading the blueprint of a state-of-the-art, brand new piece of machinery, and the embodiment is operating it. The one way which helped me the most was grounding. I have always had a hard time grounding, and there are many ways in which we ground, sometimes unconsciously. For me personally, was eating. We don't realize that we actually ground when we eat to a certain degree. So that is definitely not a healthy way. But grounding, where standing on grass or however you do it, helped me the most out of all the techniques and all the practices I've done. I have also found fasting extremely helpful. In fact, I believe the first video on this channel was about fasting. And it might sound counterintuitive because fasting will actually make you a little more loopy, but it will help you clear the cellular debris. The third is being disciplined. And I have struggled with this one. I still am. In fact, I have quit smoking a few times over the past week and twice in my life before. Working in a casino, smoking is a love hate relationship. But I have thought about why I started smoking in the first place. And this is what actually helped me. I grew up in a family of smokers. Probably many of you grew up with parents who smoked because in the 70s and 80s, smoking was somewhat normal. It definitely was normal in Eastern Europe. When I was a little girl, every adult in my life, my parents, grandparents, aunt and uncle, all but one were smokers. And the one who didn't smoke was my great grandmother. And for some reason, none of the adults ever took her seriously. She was the wisest, she was the nicest. And in my child mind, I associated smoking with being an adult and being taken seriously. So I had a few adventures. I tried smoking from my mom when I was probably 4, 5. I did not like it. It stuck with me when I was 13. That's when I started. And I quit a couple of times. The first time I quit was not when I was pregnant with my daughter. It was when I saw her and I realized why I had started smoking. I realized why I started smoking a long time ago. I just never did anything about it until recently when I decided to do a lot of shadow work. So I don't know if this story helps you, but it truly helped me realizing that I can be taken seriously without having a cigarette in my hand. And spirituality has a tendency to romanticize smoking because a lot of spiritual teachers, including one of my personal heroes, Usui Reiki, was a smoker. But if we deeply look at it, it's not a good habit. It really isn't. I have quit smoking twice in my past, and both times I started to smoke again because I wanted to be taken seriously. And this is the third time. They say three is a charm. Without the physical embodiment, the realization of ascension remains just an intellectual philosophy or a fleeting peak experience. True ascension requires both the skyward expansion of the mind, anchored deeply into the dirt of the physical human experience,